Bigfoot call or Batgirl fart? You make the call. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Squatchers Lounge podcast. That's right, we are back live Wednesday for another edition of Rev Explains It All. That's right. Going to get into Bigfoot habituation and living with giants. We're going to find out exactly what habituation means tonight and what it doesn't mean and when it came about and how it all started. So let's start out with a little bit of information basically on what is habituation. Now, some people aren't going to like how I put this, but by the way, we're just going to go ahead and start out here tonight at 8:02 and just say this video is not meant for children under the age of 13. If you want to watch the video, please go ask your parents if it's okay, if they even give a shit. So, yeah, Bigfoot habituation. I'm sorry. No. Where the hell is it? Oh, sorry, it was right here. Habituation. It's a noun. The action of habituating or the conditioning of being habituated. The training of the horse does not depend on force, but on habituation. In psychology, habituation is the diminishing of a psychological or emotional response to frequently repeated stimulus. Habituation was leading to a marked drop in arousal level in these subjects. In other words, if you watch too much porn, your penis doesn't get hard anymore. Habituation. See how that works? Well, maybe, whatever the case. If you see a whole bunch of naked women, you're no longer really aroused by those naked women. I as a young man, I worked in a strip club. And I got to tell you, by the time that set was over, I didn't need to see a strip bar for a long, long time. And naked women really weren't a big deal. They were more of a pain in the ass. Now, some people ask for an example of habituation. Habituation is a decrease in response to a stimulus after repeated presentations. For example, a new sound in your environment, such as a ringtone, may initially draw your attention or even become distracting. This diminished response is habituation. So that's what we're talking about tonight is habituation and exactly what does it do and how would one habituate such a thing? I don't really know. That's not what I'm looking for. Man, that's what I'm looking for. So we can get into some of the pages here. Yeah, I gotta tell you, it's yes, exactly. Too many bong hits and you need a stronger dose. That's exactly right. Now, habituation, as far as Bigfoot is concerned, the more I went down this rabbit hole, the stranger it actually became, because nobody really even heard anything about Bigfoot habituation until about 2015. And there's one name that keeps popping up with all of this crap that has to do with Bigfoot habituation. What people are claiming is that they have Bigfoot that either live around their property and come and visit them on a regular basis as if they're hanging out with their cousin Joe, or they're going out into the woods in the same location and the same family of Sasquatch comes and joins them and interacts with them. Now, the oddest part of all of that is the fact that it's really not that big. It's really only about 100 people who really buy into this habituation thing. So it's kind of a subcult to the Bigfoot group, but basically it all started with, of course, everybody's favorite brain injury person, Dr. Matthew Johnson. That's right. Just about 2015, he started doing interviews and started talking about habituating with Sasquatch. Bigfoot conference gets weird from back in May 1st, 2015. Bigfoot's real. They seen it. But why aren't there any clear photos of Bigfoot? Because Bigfoot has a cloaking capability. Well, it can be visible or invisible if it and when it wants. Okay, but why hasn't anybody found any bones or fossils? Well, because Bigfoot's interdimensional. it lives in other dimensions, but sometimes comes to ours. Well, that's ridiculous. How would Bigfoot cross dimensions? Easy. Portals. Portals guarded by furry creatures with glowing eyes. Oh, okay. So why hasn't anybody taken in a photo of a portal? Well, duh, because portals only appear at night and disappear when exposed to light. This, according to the researchers at the Bigfoot Habituation Research Conference of April 24th in 2015. At the Baymont Inn is the one we're talking about. Now, the conference was attended by right around 100 people and featured over a dozen speakers. Now, this is kind of the part that pisses me off right here, because I remember when this happened and we were all like, don't go, please don't go, don't take him to that, don't do it. But Bob Gimlin was actually there at the very first habituation conference. And, you know, he talked about the Bigfoots walking in Bluff Creek, and he kicked off the conference by telling his tale of Bigfoot, and then posed for pictures and flirted with all the females, because that's what he is. Now, like I said, if I was Bob Gimlin, I'd wear a different ascot every day, and those suckers would be for sale on Etsy or eBay. I'm honored to get all of this, says Gimlin. Well, the conference was led by, of course, organized by Dr. Jay Johnson, a 53-year-old psychologist from wherever the hell he's from, who's been Bigfooting since his first encounter in 2000. Now, it's been challenging. He's been championing the habituation Bigfooting, a passive Jane Goodall style approach to finding the mythical creatures for several years. Dr. J shocked many of the attendants when he told a story explaining why Bigfoot is so elusive. In short, he said, Bigfoot is an interdimensional being that travels through portals, which are guarded by short, furry creatures with glowing eyes. And then, once Bigfoot is in our dimension, it has the ability to cloak itself, rendering it invisible. Now, that story about the furry creatures with glowing eyes, I'm going to bring it up, was actually confirmed by none other than the great explorer and adventurer Adam Davis. Adam Davis is on video on Dr. Johnson's channel, actually talking about it. When pressed about it, he doesn't talk about it. In his new book, he has it, but at he goes to any of the regular Bigfoot conferences, and he wouldn't dare even speak of portals and furry creatures with glowing red eyes, and nor will you ever hear him say anything like that on any of the channels, like Travel Channel, Discovery Channel. I mean, I just saw where they featured him in another real Bigfoot event, but nothing about portals. I don't really quite understand it. One night, a Bigfoot even spoke to Dr. J in a dream. The adolescent male Bigfoot says, "It's okay. It's just a portal. And those are guardians who are making sure you guys don't go into the portal. So they're scaring you away." Portals are real, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm not making this crap up. At one local Bigfooter, Dr. J's story was dubious. "I don't go in for all the cloaking and interdimensional stuff," said Patrick Cooper. "I'm only interested in the physical nature of Sasquatch." Because people, flatly, if they're interdimensional traveling portal beings, I can't find them. Pardon me. So we might as well stop looking. I can't find things that disappear and cloak and turn themselves into trees. I really, really don't. This one out of the Kipsap Sun from, God, my allergies are killing me. For 10 years, he banged sticks together and set up trail cameras, whooped into the woods, and basically, as he put it Saturday at the Bigfoot Habituation Research Conference, again in 2016, he collected his share of footprints, scat piles, and bedding nests. Boy, I'd sure like to see some DNA from any of that. Wouldn't that be interesting? But then he started thinking, so what? This is all I'm going to get? Now he advocates for what is called the habituation approach. And the Jane Goodall approach, he said, where those seeking to encounter the woodland giants simply approach prospective habitat respectively, offer gifts or food, and let the Bigfoots get used to the presence of Homo sapiens. Which technically, oh God, what a horrible, horrible thing. I'm not going to advertise for that at all. Johnson, a psychologist, not really, hasn't been a psychologist in a long, long time. Notice nobody's spoken of his brain injury. Who works at the Western State Hospital, said the approach has led him to have multiple encounters with Bigfoot. And this weekend's core for how it build was how to really find Bigfoot. And by the way, anybody who's attended that conference in 2016, have you found Bigfoot? Did you actually learn how to really find Bigfoot? It was kind of strange. They're living and breathing creatures like we are, she said during a break in the conference. There's just no other way to do it. The habituation approach boils down to simply being in the woods, showing respect to the surroundings, and letting Sasquatch get used to one's present. Johnson said he has offered food to the Bigfoot families he has observed, but others said that they observe Bigfoot just like taking a seat deep in the woods and occasionally looking around. Wow. Yeah, that's just absolutely wonderful. Maybe. Let's see here. Going through the list here. All right. Well, let's go ahead. I see we're already quarter past the hour. Let's go ahead and we will take a moment here to do a quasi theory just as soon as, well, we'll do it this way because I can't find a picture this week. Let's check out this quasi theory from a quasi scientist, a re-quasi. Is that what we're calling it? The quasi is what we see. And now, quasi theories from a quasi scientist with your host, Dean Cooper.
Why we don't see the squatch in front of our nose, or you can't see the trees with all that forest in the way. The Reverend Jeff suggested I do a quasi on why we can't see things that are physically there, like maybe a Sasquatch hiding behind a bush that is too small for it to hide behind. I quote him, "How about a quasi on what the mind sees it doesn't really see? It only sees what it wants to, and why many Bigfoot go unnoticed as the brain can't acknowledge what it sees." I Googled about for a good half an hour and found no evidence to support his theory, at least not in terms of actually not visually seeing an object because you don't believe that type of object exists. Humans are pretty good at not recognizing social conditions they think don't exist, as in not recognizing that people born poor simply don't have the same opportunities as people born middle class. But physical objects are not blocked by disbelief. You might interpret something you see to be something else, like the mommy who sees her beautiful baby, while onlookers wonder where she got that ugly little ape from. No, you don't see the squatch squatting behind the too small shrubbery for the same reason you got hit by a car while texting while crossing the street. Your attention was elsewhere. Your attention is rather like your eyesight. The only thing in clear focus is in the central part of your total field of view. The stuff off to the side gets fuzzier, and when you get to the edges, it's almost not visible. Or think about hearing things. If you are watching TV and the action has really got your attention, and your significant other is asking you to let the dog out, do you hear them right away? Not until they yell at you and get right up in your face does your attention turn to what they are saying. So, you're strolling through the forest and it's cold or it's hot, or the bugs are biting or the trail is rough, or you're listening for wood knocks and whoops or prints or oddly stacked broken branches just when you pass that almost obvious Sasquatch. If it doesn't jump up and go ooga booga, you'll probably just waltz right on by it. You weren't paying attention. You may read the text of this on my blog at bydean.com. That's BHAIDIN.com.
Bydean.com. All right, everybody. That's what we see or don't. And that kind of blends right in with what we're talking about here with habituation. The idea that I that I was trying to convey to our quasi scientist was kind of exactly what it was difficult to voice in thought. But basically, it's the same reason that people see ghost faces in mirrors and windows and those types of things, because the human brain is trained to see faces. And if you were to look at, I mean, if you were just Joe Blow and you had never, ever heard of a Sasquatch before in your life, and you saw full-faced a Bigfoot in front of you, would you actually see it? Or would you would you make it out to be something that you are familiar with? And that was more towards what I was trying to convey to our quasi scientists, was just that if you catch a glimpse of a Bigfoot walking at the bottom of a meadow into the tree line, even though it's walking on two legs, does your brain turn it into a bear? Now, I do completely agree with some of what they say about the habituation stuff. And, everybody says, well, let's go for a walk in the woods. And I tell people, well, that's great. But about halfway through your walk in the woods, take a sit in the woods. Actually, take a chair with you. They got backpack chairs or whatever. They're not very heavy. Take a chair with you on your trail and open it up. Take a seat for about 20 minutes and see what happens as you stop moving. Usually the woods come to life. Now the woods will come to life, not necessarily because you stopped moving, but like Dean was talking about, now you're paying attention to what's actually going on in the woods around you. When you're off walking, you're looking, your brain is trying to make sense of everything it's seeing, especially if it's seeing it for the first time. And it's occupied with, don't want to twist an ankle, don't want to roll a knee, got to make sure that we're on trail. Do we have enough water? Do I have to poop? God, if I have to poop, do I have to poop in a bag, or can I poop over a log? I mean, your brain's just thinking about a gazillion things going on all at one time, and you tend to lose track of what's really going on around you. Sometimes it takes something miraculous to kind of draw your attention to it for you to even focus in on what it was. The very first time we went up to 4,000 feet here in California to go camping for the weekend, I kept seeing all these blue jays all over the place. Beautiful blue jays everywhere, until about the second day when I was walking up to the crapper, and there was a blue jay there with a black head and a awesome pompadour. I'd never seen anything like that before. I was making them all in to be blue jays, but the fact be known, there are no blue jays up there. They're actually stellar jays at that altitude. As we walked and looked the rest of the weekend, I did not find a single blue jay at all. But the first 2 days that I thought they were all blue jays, until I was actually paying attention to him jump around on the ground over there. And he had this fabulous black pompadour. I don't know if you've ever seen a stellar jay in person, but this guy was just bouncing 3 feet in front of me, and he was fantastic. My brain made them into blue jays all week until I actually paid attention to what was going on. So take a chair, go take a sit in the woods. If you're driving through these forest roads, you don't even have to go up trail. Just pull over in your vehicle, get out, sit on the trunk for a while. Take a break and really pay attention to what's going on out there, and you'll be surprised what you can actually see. And I think that's going to lead a whole lot easier to finding rare creatures. I won't say Bigfoot, but just stuff that you wouldn't usually either see or pay attention to, rather than having a sound heart and a respectful body and opening your mind to the Bigfoot so that he can tell you, they're just portal demons. Don't worry about them. It's okay. They just don't want you to enter the portal. Go talk to the trees. Apparently, that's really what it got into. Now, I'm going to finish out this conversation with where all this has gone, what this has all turned into. And what it's really turned into is Facebook pages like this. The Bigfoot researchers of Hudson Valley talk about habituation site has ongoing activity. And you look at these pictures and really, is that a Bigfoot? I don't know. Is that a Bigfoot? I don't know. It looks like an orangutan to me. It doesn't look like a Bigfoot at all. But these people, that looks like a pile of crap. I have no idea what that is. But to these people, this is all Bigfoot, 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 Bigfoot. That's an interesting cast. I'd have to see some actual detail in it because you can't see it from here. And whoever casted it, unfortunately, needs some casting lessons. But, these are the kind of things that habituators claim, that they have ongoing activity all the time. 7 wooded acres and is neighborhood by a serene golf course. So 7 wooded acres is enough for you to have all this Bigfoot habituation going on, but nobody's got any pictures or video. Well, interesting. That's what I can really talk about. I mean, and then you have all of these people who get on board like, great. It's wonderful. It's awesome. I have evidence too. We are physically, the sucker-ons of the disorder of this is what really becomes strange. Now, one of the other names that's big into the Bigfoot habituation, before there was Dr. Johnson, there was Christopher Noel. Now, he wrote a book, Our Life with Bigfoot, Knowing Our Next of Kin and Habituation Sites. Was written in 2014, of course, after Dr. Johnson started with his nonsense. But this is also the man here who wrote Impossible Visits and Sasquatch Rising. But this book combines information from both of those books and really doesn't give any new information, which is kind of crazy. But he talks about, habituation sites and, just exactly what that means. There was a big habituator in Canada by the name of Mike Patterson. I believe I've got that name correct. And Mike Patterson was Sasquatch, Ontario, not to be confused with Ontario Sasquatch, who claimed to have Nefertiti as his habituated Bigfoot in his area. And he spent years faking and hoaxing videos. And we were all able to really kind of prove that the guy was going, 100% hoaxing on it. And then the person that owned the actual property that he was doing all this in came out and proved that it was hoaxing and that it wasn't real at all. And, Christopher Noel had already stepped way on board. He was as on board could get with the whole habituation at Sasquatch, Ontario's site. And it just got to be insane. So let's take a pause there for a moment. And I forgot to do shout outs in the Hangout. So I'm going to do that now, of course. Hello there, Mr. Of course, our quasi theorist, the Reverend Dean Cooper. And there is Aaron and Miss Mary Duncan. I can't wait to come see you guys. I was running Black Sands today. There's gold in it. I still need some help, though. Let's see here. There's Miss Bella Allegria. Hello there, young lady. I hope you're feeling well. I hope your treatments go well, and we're praying for remission for you, sweetheart. There's the Reverend Tim McCune. Hello there, Tim. I hope you, too, are gaining in some better health. Mr. Shane Barber, I see that you've got a little bit of a throat thing going on, but go see the doctor, man. They're seeing patients now, and, get better, because it's dumb to just kind of fight that out. Let's see here. There's the Mr. Collier Wilmus. Hello there, Mr. Crazy artist, man. Yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. Frank G, what's up, bro? Glad you are with us as well. I'm moving on down the list here. There's that asshole Jeffrey Kelly. You know, I don't know why that guy comes and hangs out. There's the Reverend Rod Dupree. Hello, Reverend Rod. Glad you are here with us as well. He's been helping me, give me advice, get some of that gold out of that stinky black sand. It's just everywhere. Let's see. Kid. Oh, God, I'm going to get this fixed one of these days. What's up, buddy? Glad you're with us. Kevin K, 208. Good evening and cheers. Right back at you, man. Moving on down the line here. Moving on down the line. Hey, there's Miss Can Swank. Hello there. Glad you are with us. I think that's a miss. Maybe I'm wrong. Could be a dude. I can't remember. I'm sorry. Without a real name behind it, it's kind of hard to remember everybody's gender. Yeah, wait. There are no genders. I'm sorry. That's my bad. You could be 52 different things at this point. Sorry. Bobby Younce. Hello there, Bobby. Glad you are with us as well. That looks like an IE, so that's a young lady. Hello there. I don't think I've seen that name before. Glad you are joining us. Yeah, we're getting down to the bottom here. If you haven't said hi to me, I can't say hi to you. Keith Harden. That's right, man. And now, batting third, playing center field, Keith Harden. There's Lance Windsor of the Great White North. There you go. Hello there, sir. Not that he's a white supremacist. He actually lives in Canada. David Lee. Hello, David Lee. Glad you are with us as well. Yeah, we didn't miss you, buddy. Hey. Right back at you. And I know that Cameron's out there somewhere too as well. So hello, Mr. Cameron. And my boy Sean is he's going to be tuning in a little bit later tonight. So with that, my friends, I got to ask you, Bigfoot habituation, truth or crap? I'm leaning towards the crap myself. I really am. I'm sorry. The cloaking, interdimensional, portal traveling, furry demon, glowing eyed, pet having, but they're coming to live at people's houses. It's really, really difficult for me to stay on board with that. I just don't know where. I don't really know where they go from there. There is another famous habituator, by the way. She claims to have the 3 whole Sasquatch genomes on file now. Yeah, that's right. Dr. Melva Ketchum. She claims that she has Bigfoot at her ranch in Texas, and that, she has people fly in special to come in there and hang out with the Bigfoot, but they don't allow any pictures. No. If you bring a camera, they'll know. Even if they don't see it, they can sense it. I believe she was actually claimed to be sexually assaulted by one of her habituated Bigfoots. So I don't know how much that habituation was working. But you have to be careful, because there's a lot of other people out there that claim that, they know exactly where the Bigfoot is. Give me $2,500, come on an expedition, and we'll get you into Bigfoot activity. We can't guarantee that you're going to see anything, but you'll definitely hear stuff, and we'll find some tracks, and, they'll come around us at night. And I mean, they literally take people out into the swamps at night and scare the living crap out of them, where they could really get hurt. I mean, look, I don't care who you are, running around in a swamp at night. It's dangerous stuff. You can break a bone, get bit by something that you don't want to get bit by. It's just stupid. I don't even go on night hikes for the most part, because I don't want to fall off a cliff. Go back, go. Hello, right back at you. Yeah, Dean, I think you're right. I think the basic concept of habituation is valid, but even like Jane Goodall, she took pictures. She says, I'm going to go do this. And she took a camera with her, and she did it. She took pictures of these things constantly. It wasn't like she was claiming that they were portal jumping, interdimensional poop scoopers. And yes, the chimps at that time were absolutely as elusive as the Sasquatch, where nobody actually really believed they exist. The same thing with the mountain gorillas, the lowland gorillas, the bonobos, the billy apes. Nobody actually believed those things existed. The about the only thing people really kind of knew about were the orangutan, and those guys were so solitary, and they like their spacing, that they were super hard to find, even though the locals would talk about them. But yeah, Jane Goodall absolutely habituated a troop of chimps so well that they would bring her their newborns. They looked at her as one of those chimps. But she also lived out there for years. See, these people claim that, hey, let's go habituating this weekend. And they jump in the car and they go running out there. Frank Smith, what's up there, champ? Whatever. Jane was gorillas. Friggin' Diane Fossey was chimps. But it's all the same crap. It's exactly what I'm talking about. They did exactly the same thing. They were out there for years. I always get Jane and friggin', yeah, the other one mixed up. But my point being is, they lived with them. They were out there for months and months and months on end, and eventually years on end. And that's how you would become part of a troop like that. Not weekend visits with some apples and some good feelings and some no feel bads. I mean, that's the part that everybody in the Bigfoot world latches onto. Everybody wants to call themselves a researcher. Diane Fossey, that's the one. Diane Fossey was the chimps and Jane was the gorillas, but they both basically did the exact same thing. They went out and they lived with these creatures enough that, they became part of the pack. And, now the billy apes were a different story. We knew about the bonobos, but the billy apes were found in modern times, 2000 something, can't remember exactly what it was. But again, it was just like what usually happens. The locals say, hey, we've got a 6-foot chimp down here that kills friggin' lions. We got a lion killing monkey thing down here. They didn't say chimp because they didn't really know what the hell a chimp was. But the point being is, we got these scary looking hairy ape people that kill lions and carry spears. We need some help. And sure enough, what do they find? They find the billy ape, who are 6-foot chimps that are known to sharpen sticks and kill shit with it. So, that's, that becomes, again, we only had 10 or 15 seconds of HD video of the billy apes at first. And that was enough, but we still had the video of them pre-habituation, and from there on out, of course, they were easier to find, they were easier to videotape, they were easier to take pictures of. And since then, we actually have some specimens in zoos and study groups, and that's horrible, but it is what it is. Yeah, that's the question. So if they're so human-like and so people-like, do we just like call them cousins and invite them to live in the backyard like Bubbles? I can set up my shed to have a Bigfoot sack out in it. I could probably put a whole bunch of hay in there and a bunch of smoked meat for them to eat. Scare away the burglars. I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure what we're supposed to do with habituated Bigfoot, because honestly, habituated wild animals are usually put to sleep. If you go out and take a baby deer and raise it as a pet, if Fish and Game find it, they will take it and euthanize it because it's a wild animal and you've tried to domesticate it, which you can't, and you habituated it, and now it can't be set back out to the wild. So they kill it. Plain and simple. Fox, bobcat, coyote pup, any of that wild animal stuff that humans like to habituate and take home and use like pets, if they're found, they are euthanized. So is that what these people want for these Bigfoot? I mean, because of course, these are the same people that are, killing a Bigfoot is murder. You should go away forever for even thinking about it, sir. I'm going to burn down your house because you thought about shooting a Bigfoot. Same people. Yet they're habituating these animals to a point that they can no longer be afraid of humans. Therefore, they're entire existence is probably in question now. And should game and fish come in there and find your habituation area, they will probably euthanize those animals. Wow. We're going to sing Kumbaya and toast marshmallows with the Bigfoot in the backyard because, they're your almost human brothers. Now, they may be. I'm not even going to dispute the DNA differences between Sasquatch and humans because the difference between humans and chimps and bonobos and billy apes are negligible. I mean, you actually have more percentage of differences between your cousins and you than you do between yourself and a chimpanzee at base level. I'm not talking about specifics, but at base level, you have more genes in common with a billy ape, bonobo chimpanzee than you do with your own cousins because there's like a 3.3% DNA change to a second cousin, which is exactly why they don't want you marrying your first cousin. Because if you marry your first cousin enough times, it actually looks like you married your brother or your sister. And ew, who wants to do that? We go to some strange places here on the Squatchers Lounge podcast, but dadgummit, sometimes they just need to be gone to. Kumbaya, my Squatch. Kumbaya. That's right. That's our mantra. Old Dean signed up and created that one for us, although it was a song and not a mantra. I really wanted something like, Parahuta, Squatchy Nunes, whatever. But we didn't get that. Yeah, exactly. You get the royal families, which is true. If you look back at the Egyptians, they can't really tell where they married, if they married their cousin or whether they married their brother or sister, because they had been marrying that close into the family line for so long that the DNA differences were just like, your guess is as good as mine. Let's hope it don't have 3 arms. Three eyeballs would be okay. I mean, trioscopic vision. Is that what triscopic vision instead of stereo vision? One in the back of your head, like that would be pimp. Like have stereo vision out the front and like singular vision out the back. I mean, that would be like, if I was gonna die, yeah. Cucumber by that's right. Oh man. Okay, so let's get this wrapped up tonight. Habituation. I think it's a bunch of hooey myself. I'm not saying that there aren't Bigfoot that visit the same area over and over and over again because they're nuisances, and that's. But I'm saying that they're not hanging out, giving high fives and playing poker. You're not taking your children around them. You're not having pancakes with them in the backyard. And I would dare to say, prove me wrong. Any habituator out there that can prove me wrong, I will be glad to make a retraction on the air and give you credit for proving me wrong. So you can be mad about it all you want to. I'm just saying, prove me wrong. Now, proof requires evidence. Miraculous claims require miraculous evidence. So if you're going to try and prove me wrong, you better come with actual facts and evidence. I'll fly anywhere. Fly me in. I'll hang out in your habituation area. I ain't scared of nothing. I actually got a real ID just so I could fly out of California. And I'm getting vaccinated tomorrow. So fly me in. I'll come out and check out your habituation area. We'll see exactly what it is. I'm not paying you $2,500 for it. But if you want to prove me wrong, then prove me wrong. Otherwise, I'm going to say your habituation situation is bullshit. Yeah, I wouldn't have none of my kids anywhere near them either, man. Yeah. Didn't you hear the story of Junior? She snatched him just coming back from the toilet because he was in her area. Yeah, I don't think it would take much for them to rip your arms off and beat you to death with them. I'm not saying they want to, but I think if you get close enough and challenge one, I don't think a chimp will do it. Chimp's strong enough to rip your arms off and beat you with them. But it's just the craziness of some of these claims that, I take my 6-year-old with me and she talks to Bigfoot too. Even says the Bigfoot even says her name. All right. So with that, we'll get it wrapped up tonight. Next week, should be a Bigfoot Entertainment monthly with our old pal Wes. I will get with him, and we'll get a movie put out for everybody to watch. I think we might cover the new Hulu documentary. I've had like 4 or 5 or 6 people message me about that today. It's a 3-parter on Hulu. It's a true crime / Bigfoot documentary, and it's supposedly really weird. And I'm gonna get to watch it tomorrow. I tried to watch it today, but I'm gonna get to watch it tomorrow. So I think we might do that next week, but we'll see for sure. And the week after that, as I promised, I actually got confirmation from Darren Lee. He'll be joining us for about a half an hour because he actually works nights, but he's going to join us on his lunch break to talk about the Squatchopedia 2.0 and the MABRC. And maybe, hopefully, if we have enough time, I can get him to talk about Daisy in the Box. If you don't know what Daisy in the Box is, go back to the hoax season. Daisy in the Box was definitely covered in those Daisies in a Box. And check that one out because it was quite the interesting story. Now, Darren was not involved with any of the fuckery. He wasn't, he wasn't in on the hoax at all. Actually, he was part of breaking it and breaking it up. But that whole thing was insane. Bobo's mad about how they twisted his words in the Hulu documentary. Yeah, Bobo. Bacon, give him bacon. You always give Sasquatch bacon. Throw bacon into okay. Bobo can be mad. I know Bobo will be okay. And hello to Frank, Fubar Frank, because I know what Fubar is. All recognition. All right, and with that, folks, enjoy this Bigfoot campfire story. This is actually one of my favorites from the Bigfoot Campfire season 2. Bigfoot escapes captivity from a sideshow. So give it a listen. We'll see you next week. May you all be healthy, and may the Squatch be with you. You guys hear that? I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure that's a Bigfoot. Let me tell you a story. A Bigfoot captured in the Pacific Northwest had been held in captivity for nearly 30 years by the Carnival of the Damned as part of their freak show. Half man, half creature, and all real terror, it fit right in until the last night it had ever been seen in its cage. Let's hear that story. Hi, my name's Timmy, and as a young boy I enjoyed traveling. Each summer, my parents would send me back east to Virginia to stay with my grandparents while my parents worked. I really loved my Nana. She always knew how to just keep me happy. I had been in town for about a week when Nana came home from the market, and she presented me with a pair of tickets to the newly arrived carnival. I was super excited about it as I loved exotic animals, from lions and tigers to monkeys and chimps. It was all advertised on the ticket. I couldn't wait for Saturday to get here. Days seemed to stretch on. I kept hearing stories from others who had been to the show, how amazing the big cat show was, and even some sort of story that they kept calling a wood booger. I even heard a couple of the local boys arguing if it was even real, or it must be a fake. After all of this, I was about to burst, and then finally, the day arrived. Nana woke me up early as she had some things to do before we could go to the carnival this evening. Out we went, doing our usual visits to neighbors and others who couldn't get out for themselves. I couldn't help but be a bit selfish and just stare at the clock most of the day. And then it happened. Nana turned to me and said, "Let's go get ready for the show." So home we went while she got all changed and dressed up. She looked amazing in her polka dot dress and hat. Nana always had class. And then I stood there in front of her in my brown tweed suit, just as proud as I could be, holding my brown bolo hat. Just then, Granddad looks over and wolf whistles and wishes us the best on our adventure, as he wasn't into people that much, he said. I was in amazement with all the sights and sounds as we arrived. This was the year I discovered my hatred of clowns. Not so much of fear, mind you, but an overburdening need to beat them in the face with a bat. Anyways, we walked past the big cats and watched the one-ring show, then browsed all through all of the midway, and that's when I heard it. Come one, come all, and see what only a few can stomach, one of the scariest creatures on earth. Step right up and see the half-man Sasquatch of the Pacific Northwest. Just 15 cents a person. Step right up. Well, I couldn't resist the look at Nana, as she kind of cringed with the thought of it, but into her purse she dug, and off to the Barker to buy 2 tickets we went. Hello there, young man, said the Barker with his greasy hair and matching greasy mustache. We're glad you could join us, but are you sure your lovely lady is ready to see such horrors as these? Well, Nana spoke right up for herself, as she had seen the horrors of battle in the Great War, and surely this couldn't match any of that. He looked my way and smiled some knowing smile and pointed towards the old decaying red and yellow striped tent. Once through the flaps and around a blind corner, we were herded along with the others into row after row of folding chairs facing a stage. Inside, there were just a few folks, like the man in the moth-ridden brown suit and the motorcycle hood and the leather jacket. Well, Nana led me to the seats towards the exit, and we sat there and waited for the show. It wasn't but a few minutes past when the Barker returned, this time in a bright and red shabby of an overcoat and top hat, smoking a cigar and laughing at his own jokes. But with the wave of his hand, the music stopped and the lights went dim, and he began to warn us of what we were about to see. Lady and gentlemen, you have come here of your own free will to see the freak that is the half-man, half-creature known as Sasquatch by the Chehalis Indians, or Sasquatch to you and I. I, too, didn't believe the creature until I saw it firsthand, just like you brave people are about to. Just remember, keep your voices down, don't make any sudden movements, and we'll all make it safely out together. Now please form a line to the door at my left and prepare yourself for the horror that is Sasquatch. With excitement building, I grabbed Nana by the hand and pulled her so we could be first in line to see the creature. As the rest of the room got in line behind us, the Barker came down before us and stood in front of the door. He knocked 3 times, then 2, and then the door slowly opened, and he stepped inside. He stepped aside and let us all by. I looked in the cage, but I couldn't see a thing. Others pushed past us and yelled at the Barker, "Hey, is this some kind of a scam? There's no creature in here." The Barker pushed past us all to stare at the now empty cage with the side door open and a panicked look upon his face. Just then, silence fell upon the room as we heard a low, deep, guttural growl from the darkened corner of the room of the tent. The Barker froze and began to back up slowly towards the doors. Just then, the creature came forth into the light. It stood some 7 foot tall, must have been 500 pounds, great big ridges over its eyes that shadowed them from the light, making the details harder to see. Covered in hair from head to toe, it stood before us, heaving and now panting in what seemed like aggravated panic. It began to pace back and forth, and then stopped and screamed a blood-curdling roar that made us all turn and run from the tent. Nana was frozen in place, but a quick tug towards the exit's direction, she quickly fled with me. Others trampling over people who had fallen. I looked back just in time to see the Sasquatch snatch the Barker by the arm and thrash him to the ground until he moved no more, then tore through the back end of the tent and fled into the woods. We rushed back to the car and avoided near collision after near collision all the way back out. And before we knew it, we'd actually arrived back to her house. Granddad met us at the door. He had heard on the radio that there was some sort of emergency at the carnival, and he was relieved that we were home. We sat down while they had coffee and tried to explain what had happened, but it wasn't until he heard it on the news report on the radio that they were actually looking for an escaped animal from the show that he finally started to believe. For weeks, it seemed there were reports of people seeing it almost nightly, until finally, it just stopped. although there's been mysterious cases of missing persons around the carnival until it finally closed a few years later. But I suppose those are tales for another time. Thanks for listening. I'm Reverend Jeff, and may the Squatch be with you.